Everyone thinks Balerion was the most dangerous dragon in history. They're dead wrong. There was a dragon so powerful, so terrifyingly large, that when she died, her body literally destroyed a castle. Her name was Meraxes, and the Maesters have been lying about her size for 300 years. I'm going to prove to you that Meraxes wasn't just big. She was the second largest dragon that ever lived. And by the end of this video, I'll show you the one piece of evidence that George R.R. Martin himself put in the books that proves the historians got it backwards. But first, we need to understand why everyone thinks Vhagar was bigger, because on the surface, it makes perfect sense. Vhagar lived for 181 years. That's almost 2 centuries of constant growth. Meraxes? She died at roughly 70 to 90 years old when a scorpion bolt pierced her eye over the deserts of Dorne. So the math seems simple. Vhagar lived twice as long, so she must have been twice as big, right? Wrong. Because there's one thing the historians always forget to mention: the Dragonpit, the prison that changed everything. Here's what the Maesters don't want you to understand. Dragons never stop growing, but only if they're free. Meraxes spent her entire life wild, hatched on Dragonstone, hunting whales in the Narrow Sea, burning armies across Westeros. She never knew chains, never knew walls, never knew hunger. But Vhagar? After Visenya died, she spent decades rotting in the Dragonpit during the reigns of Jaehaerys and Viserys. And we know for a fact that the Dragonpit stunted growth. It's not a theory, it's in the text. So while Vhagar lived longer, she spent half that time in a stone cage, slowly starving, slowly shrinking. Now here's where I'm going to say something controversial. I don't think Vhagar ever truly surpassed Meraxes in mass. Meraxes was built like a tank. Vhagar, by the dance, was described as hoary, with skin that hung loose. She was a skeleton wrapped in leather. But you don't have to take my word for it. Let me give you 3 proofs of Meraxes' power that cement her as number 2. Proof 1. There's one character who saw the proof with his own eyes. Tyrion Lannister, Game of Thrones, Book 1. He goes down into the Red Keep and sees the skulls of all 3 conquest dragons. And here's what he says, word for word. The singers had given them the names of gods: Balerion, Meraxes, Vhagar. Meraxes was even bigger. Bigger, not almost as big, not nearly the same size, bigger than Vhagar. This is physical evidence. Tyrion isn't reading a history book, he's staring at the bones. And before you say, well, maybe he was wrong, remember, Tyrion was obsessed with dragons. He's studied them his entire life. So here's my theory. The Maesters ranked Vhagar as number 2 because of her age and her role in the dance. But Meraxes died too early. She became a footnote, a tragedy, not a legend. And here's why this matters for House of the Dragon. Because if Meraxes could get that big in 70 years, then what could the dragons of Daenerys become if they had lived wild and free for a full century? Drogon is barely 10 years old in the show. He's an infant compared to Meraxes. And he's already burning fleets. Proof 2. The Hellholt collapse. When Meraxes died, her body didn't just fall. It destroyed the castle's highest tower and part of the curtain wall. Think about the physics of that. For a biological creature to demolish stone architecture just by falling, she had to weigh at least 50 tons. That's the weight of 10 elephants, dropped from the sky, onto a fortress. Proof 3. The horse test. Maesters measure dragon size by what they can swallow whole. Balerion could swallow an aurochs, a creature twice the size of a bull. Meraxes could swallow a full warhorse, armor and all. Vhagar during the dance? No records of her swallowing anything that's larger than horse. So here's the truth the Maesters don't want to admit. Meraxes was the second largest dragon in history. Vhagar takes 3rd place, not because she was weak, but because she was robbed. Robbed by the Dragonpit, robbed by chains. And here's the tragedy. If Meraxes had lived just 20 more years, she would have rivaled Balerion himself. But the Dornish took that from us. One scorpion bolt, one impossible shot, and the Silver Queen fell. That's the Watcher's verdict. Meraxes was number 2. Not because the books say so, but because the bones don't lie. Let me know in the comments if you agree.